The stage lights dim. A worn but trusty guitar, nicknamed Trigger, sits center stage, its weathered wood telling stories of thousands of nights on the road. The unmistakable bandana and braids appear as a silhouette steps into the spotlight, greeted by thunderous applause that seems to shake the very foundation of the venue. What happens when a legend reaches his 9th decade yet refuses to slow down? How does a man who's seen it all, fame, financial ruin, comeback after comeback, find meaning at 92? And in an industry that often discards its elders, how has Willie Nelson remained not just relevant, but revered? Stay tuned, because by the end of this story, you'll know exactly what happened to Willie Nelson at 92, and where things stand as of September 2025. The country music icon whose career spans 7 decades has faced challenges that would have broken most, yet still finds reasons to pick up Trigger and step on stage. Let's dive in. To understand Willie Nelson at 92, we need to appreciate how extraordinary his journey has been. The man whose voice became the soundtrack to millions of lives wasn't an overnight success. His path was marked by persistence few artists could match, a willingness to reinvent himself, and an authenticity that transcended musical genres. Born April 29, 1933 in Abbott, Texas during the Great Depression, Willie Hugh Nelson's humble beginnings shaped everything that followed. Raised by his grandparents after his parents separated, young Willie found solace in music early. His grandfather bought him his first guitar at 6 years old and taught him a few chords. By age 7, he was writing his own songs, channeling emotions most children his age couldn't articulate. Abbott, Texas wasn't just a dot on the map. For Willie, it was the foundation of his musical identity. The cotton fields, where he picked cotton alongside his grandmother, under the unforgiving Texas sun. The small church, where he first performed gospel songs, his voice still finding its distinctive character. The local radio that brought Grand Ole Opry performances into their modest home, igniting dreams bigger than their small town could contain. I grew up on a steady diet of Bob Wills, Lefty Frizzle, Hank Williams, and gospel music, Willie often recalled in interviews. These influences blended with the everyday sounds of rural Texas, train whistles in the distance, porch conversations at sunset, and the rhythm of work songs in the fields, creating the foundation for what would become his signature sound. By his teens, Willie was already a working musician, playing local dances and honky-tonks while still attending school. The tension between respectable small-town life and the allure of music set the stage for his lifelong journey. He briefly joined the Air Force in 1950, but after a back injury led to his discharge, music called him back with greater urgency. The 1950s saw Willie bouncing between odd jobs, selling encyclopedias, door to door, working as a disc jockey at various radio stations across the South, all while honing his songwriting craft. These weren't glamorous years. Playing in dive bars for tips, sleeping in his car between gigs, and sending demos to record companies that returned unopened. But something was forming in those years of struggle, a songwriting voice unlike any other in country music. His break finally came, but not as a performer. In 1960, he moved to Nashville, Music City, where his unusual phrasing and jazz-influenced chord progressions raised eyebrows. While record executives weren't ready for Willie the artist, they recognized Willie the songwriter. Crazy, recorded by Patsy Cline in 1961, became one of the most iconic country songs of all time. Funny How Time Slips Away and Hello Walls similarly became hits for other artists. But here's where it gets complicated. Despite writing some of the most successful country songs of the era, Willie himself couldn't break through as a performer. His voice, now considered instantly recognizable, was deemed too unusual. His timing too unpredictable. His appearance not polished enough for the Nashville standard. He signed with Liberty Records and then RCA, releasing albums that were overproduced and smoothed out the very qualities that made him special. By 1970, frustrated with the Nashville system and recovering from personal setbacks, including a devastating house fire, Willie made a decision that would change everything. He returned to Texas, settling in Austin, a city whose counterculture energy was miles away from Nashville's formula-driven approach. And that's when everything changed. The Willie Nelson we know today, the bandana-wearing, long-braided outlaw country pioneer, was born in the early 1970s. He grew out his hair, embraced a more casual style, and most importantly, took control of his sound. When he signed with Atlantic Records in 1973, he negotiated the creative freedom he'd been denied for years. Red-Headed Stranger, released in 1975, was the album Nashville executives would have never allowed. Sparse, story-driven, and raw, the concept album about a preacher on the run after killing his unfaithful wife and her lover became not just a critical success but a commercial one, proving Willie's instincts right. The title track reached #1 on the country charts, and suddenly the industry that had tried to contain Willie's creativity was following his lead. The late 1970s and early 1980s represented Willie's commercial peak. Albums like Stardust, 1978, where he interpreted pop standards through his distinctive lens, went platinum multiple times. On the Road Again became an anthem not just for travelers but for Willie's own perpetual touring lifestyle. His 4th of July picnics became legendary gatherings, blending country traditionalist with rock audiences. Then came the formation of the Highwaymen in 1985, a supergroup featuring Willie alongside Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, and Chris Christopherson. 4 icons, each with their own distinctive voice, created something greater than the sum of its parts. Their collaboration extended beyond music into films like Stagecoach, 1986, expanding Willie's presence in American culture. But behind the success, Willie faced challenges that would have derailed most careers. In 1990, the IRS came calling with a bill for $32 million in unpaid taxes, one of the largest individual tax cases in history. The government seized most of his assets, including his beloved Texas ranch. How did Willie respond? With characteristic creativity and humor. He released the IRS tapes, Who'll Buy My Memories? A stripped-down acoustic album sold directly to fans to help pay his debt. He appeared in IRS commercials, poking fun at his own situation. By 1993, he had settled his debt and reclaimed his financial independence, turning what could have been a career-ending scandal into another chapter of his legend. If Willie's story had ended there, with his legacy secure and his debts paid, it would still be remarkable. But that's not Willie. While many of his contemporaries retired or reduced their schedules, Willie kept touring, typically playing over 150 shows annually well into his 70s. Now, let's fast forward to more recent years. As Willie entered his 80s, rumors about his health began circulating with increasing frequency. Breathing problems forced him to cancel shows occasionally. In 2019, at 86, he publicly addressed concerns, telling a crowd in San Antonio, "I have a little breathing problem that I need to have my doctor check out. I'll be back. I'm just sick of hearing myself cough." These health scares sparked premature reports of his demise, so much so that Willie recorded Still Not Dead in 2017, a humorous response to internet rumors of his passing. The lyrics captured his defiant spirit. "I woke up still not dead again today. The internet said I had passed away." But as he approached 90, Willie faced undeniable physical challenges. Decades of smoking marijuana, something he's been famously open about advocating, had taken a toll on his lungs. He gave up smoking cannabis around 2019, switching to edibles and vaping to manage the pain from decades of touring. Emphysema and pneumonia became recurring concerns, and his performances, while still remarkable, showed signs of a man conserving his energy. "I don't want to be the best singer in the world," Willie once said. "I just want to be the best Willie Nelson." This philosophy has guided his later career choices. Rather than straining to hit the notes of his prime, he adapted his performance style, allowing his band to carry more of the load, focusing on interpretation rather than technical perfection, and leaning into the weathered quality of his voice as an instrument of emotional authenticity. By late 2024, as he turned 91, Willie had slowed his touring schedule considerably but refused to stop entirely. According to his team, he approaches each performance as if it might be his last, not out of morbid consideration but as a way to remain present and grateful. His son, Lucas Nelson, himself an accomplished musician, has taken on a larger role in performances, ensuring the family musical legacy continues. Now in September 2025, as Willie Nelson reaches 92, what's remarkable isn't just that he's still here, it's that he's still creating. Earlier this year, he released his 73rd solo studio album, The Road Goes On, featuring collaborations with younger artists who grew up under his influence. Critics have noted that while his voice has grown more fragile, its emotional resonance has only deepened, a testament to how art can evolve rather than diminish with age. According to sources close to the family, Willie now divides his time between his ranch outside Austin and his home in Maui, Hawaii, where the climate is gentler on his respiratory system. His legendary tour bus, a custom-built sanctuary where he's written countless songs, remains parked at the ranch, occasionally used for shorter regional performances rather than cross-country tours. Health management has become a central focus. Willie reportedly follows a modified diet developed in consultation with his doctors, emphasizing anti-inflammatory foods while still enjoying life's pleasures in moderation. His exercise regimen includes gentle martial arts practices. He holds a black belt in Gongkwon Yusul, adapted to accommodate his age and physical limitations. Every day above ground is a good day, Willie often says, a philosophy that has carried him through setbacks that would have ended most careers. This perspective becomes more poignant at 92, especially as he has witnessed the passing of so many contemporaries and collaborators. The deaths of Merle Haggard in 2016, Chris Christopherson in 2023, and most recently, his sister and longtime pianist Bobby Nelson in 2022 have left Willie as one of the last standing titans of his generation. Bobby's passing hit particularly hard. The siblings had performed together since childhood, and her piano playing was integral to the Willie Nelson family band sound for over 50 years. At her memorial service, according to attendees, Willie performed a heart-wrenching version of Angel Flying Too Close to the Ground, his voice cracking with emotion in a rare public display of vulnerability. Despite these losses, Willie continues to find joy in creation. His recent appearances on streaming platforms and late-night shows reveal a man who has made peace with mortality without surrendering to it. When asked about his longevity in a March 2025 interview, he reportedly quipped, "I've been killing myself for over 90 years. I haven't succeeded yet." Family remains central to Willie's life. With 7 children spanning multiple generations, numerous grandchildren, and a complex relationship history including 4 marriages, he's been with his current wife, Annie D'Angelo, since 1991. Willie has created a sprawling family tree that mirrors his musical legacy, diverse, occasionally complicated, but ultimately united by deep bonds. His cannabis business, Willie's Reserve, has expanded as marijuana legalization has spread across the United States. What began as a personal passion has become a legitimate business enterprise and advocacy platform. Willie remains a vocal supporter of environmental causes, family farmers through Farm Aid, which he co-founded in 1985, and animal welfare initiatives. If you've followed Willie's career over the decades, you've witnessed a masterclass in authenticity. From the clean-cut Nashville songwriter of the early 1960s to the outlaw country revolutionary of the 1970s to the elder statesman of American music he is today, Willie has always followed his own compass. Commercial trends came and went. Music delivery systems evolved from vinyl to streaming. But Willie remained Willie. His impact extends far beyond his personal success. Artists from Johnny Cash to Chris Stapleton have cited him as a primary influence. His willingness to cross genre boundaries, recording with everyone from Snoop Dogg to Norah Jones, helped break down the artificial walls between musical styles. His philanthropic work, particularly Farm Aid, which has raised over $70 million for family farmers as of 2025, demonstrated how artists could leverage their platform for social good. The numbers tell part of the story. According to industry estimates, Willie has sold over 40 million albums in the United States alone. He's recorded more than 1,000 songs, written hundreds himself, and won 12 Grammy Awards from 56 nominations. He was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1993, received Kennedy Center honors in 1998, and entered the National Agricultural Hall of Fame in 2011, reportedly the only musician to receive this honor. But here's where it gets interesting. Willie's legacy isn't just measured in album sales or awards. It's measured in the creative space he carved out for artists who didn't fit neatly into industry categories. It's measured in the preservation of traditional country music elements, even as he experimented with jazz, reggae, and pop influences. It's measured in how he demonstrated that creativity doesn't have an expiration date, that artists can continue evolving well into their 90s. Which brings us to Willie at 92. According to those close to him, Willie still starts most days the same way he has for decades, with coffee, perhaps some meditation, and time with his guitar Trigger. The legendary Martin N20 classical guitar he purchased in 1969 has traveled over 1 million miles with him, its worn face bearing a hole where his pick has struck it countless times, each scratch a chapter in their shared journey. Willie's fingertips still find the frets with the intimacy that comes from over 80 years of playing. His daily cannabis regimen, now primarily through edibles and tinctures, helps manage the pain from decades of performing. While he moves more slowly these days, requiring occasional assistance on stage, his mind remains sharp, his memory for lyrics exceptional, and his timing, that distinctive behind-the-beat phrasing that influenced generations, intact. Now, if you're wondering how Willie maintains his creative energy at 92, those close to him point to several factors. First, he never stops writing. According to his son, Lucas, Willie still keeps a notebook by his bed for when inspiration strikes at night. Second, he surrounds himself with musicians of all ages, absorbing new influences even as he maintains his distinctive style. And third, he approaches each day with genuine curiosity, reportedly still reading voraciously and engaging with current events. The most moving aspect of Willie at 92 is perhaps the relationship with his audience. The crowds at his concerts now span 4 generations. Great-grandparents who discovered him in the 1960s alongside teenagers experiencing his music live for the first time. There's a ceremonial quality to these performances, a collective acknowledgement that they're witnessing something precious and increasingly rare. According to venue staff at recent appearances, Willie takes time after shows when his health permits to meet with fans who have special connections to his music, veterans who found solace in his songs during deployment, cancer patients who use his music as therapy during treatment, young musicians seeking wisdom from a master. These encounters rarely make headlines, but reveal the depth of Willie's impact on individual lives. By mid-2025, Willie had reportedly completed recording on what he's described to close associates as his legacy project, a multi-album collection revisiting key songs from throughout his career, this time with arrangements that accommodate his current voice while honoring the original spirit. Sources suggest the collection includes previously unreleased material from various eras, preserved for future generations. His philanthropic work continues through the Willie Nelson Foundation, which supports sustainable agriculture, music education in underserved communities, and veterans' causes. The foundation has increasingly focused on climate change initiatives in recent years, reflecting Willie's concern for the future of farming and natural resources. Health challenges remain a constant companion. Willie reportedly travels with medical personnel, and oxygen is kept nearby during performances as a precaution. His appearances are carefully scheduled to allow for adequate rest between shows. Yet those who work with him remark on his resilience, how he can appear frail during sound check but summon remarkable energy when the curtain rises. A particularly touching moment occurred at a tribute concert in Nashville in early 2025, according to attendees. After younger artists performed his songs throughout the evening, Willie took the stage for the finale. As he began, "On the road again," his voice faltered briefly. Without missing a beat, the entire audience, thousands strong, sang the lyrics for him, carrying the melody while he played guitar. Rather than appear embarrassed, Willie smiled broadly, conducting the impromptu choir with his free hand. Another example of how he's adapted to the changes age brings without surrendering his joy in performance. In the words of fellow musician Casey Musgraves from a recent tribute, "Willie taught us all that authenticity isn't about perfection, it's about honesty. Every crack in his voice tells a story, and we're lucky to still be hearing new chapters." As Willie approaches his 93rd birthday in April 2026, music historians and cultural commentators have already begun assessing his place in American culture. Beyond the hit songs and awards, they point to how Willie represents a uniquely American archetype, the individualist who creates his own path while maintaining deep connections to tradition, community, and the land. His influence extends into unexpected areas. The sustainable farming practices he's advocated through Farm Aid have influenced agricultural policy. His early adoption of biodiesel fuel for his tour bus sparked conversations about alternative energy in the transportation sector. His openness about cannabis use long before legalization helped destigmatize the conversation around its potential benefits, particularly for older adults managing pain. Behind the public figure, those closest to Willie describe a man who has achieved something rare: genuine contentment. After decades of financial struggles, relationship complexities, and health challenges, Willie reportedly approaches his remaining days with neither fear nor regret, but with continued curiosity and creative purpose. In the end, this isn't just a story about music. It's about resilience. It's about the power of remaining true to yourself, even when the world tries to reshape you. It's about finding purpose until the final note plays out. Willie Nelson at 92 reminds us that our later chapters can be just as meaningful as our early ones, perhaps even more so for the perspective they contain. If you've been moved by Willie's journey and want to explore other musical legends who've continued creating into their later years, tell me in the comments below. And if you haven't already, take a moment to subscribe, because there are more stories of extraordinary lives waiting to be told. But before you go, perhaps the most important takeaway from Willie's 9 decades is this: it's never too late to reinvent yourself, to create something new, or to find joy in the work that makes you feel most alive. As Willie himself wrote in his 2012 book, Roll Me Up and Smoke Me When I Die, "I don't go to funerals, and I don't want people to come to mine. I want to be cremated, and I want my ashes scattered on this little hill in Abbott, Texas, where the house I grew up in used to stand." Simple wishes from a man whose impact has been anything but simple. The good news is that day hasn't come yet. Willie Nelson at 92 continues to demonstrate that the road does indeed go on forever, and the party never ends.